That's something he loved. And he spoke about you guys often when I was with him. So it was good to go and see and hear the stories, you know, when he was checking up on the gardens, and he used to talk to me about the gardens that were not kept properly. And when he would take a drive into Benoni, how he would see how these guys are not doing their jobs properly. And I think he remembered what he used to do. Clarry used to do our gardens while he could, until his eyesight became a bit of a problem and battled with the bugs and that. But he did a good job. And we will miss him because of that. One thing I knew from our chats with Clarry, and from meeting him and knowing him the number of years that I've known him, is that Clarry knew the Lord. Clarry knew the Lord, and Clarry knew where he was going. Clarry was right with God. And that is something that I think each one of us has to take a look at today and say, am I right with the Lord today? Am I right with God today? But however, get off that, I know. Get back to our Clarry, we're celebrating his life at the moment. I know from Bible study, one thing, Clarry, technology wasn't always his friend. He didn't really like technology. Often Clarry would come and say, how do I get to this place? And he wanted us to make copies, because this is what Clarry knew. If you don't know what this is, I can open it up. That's a map book. And I'll be going further into that just now, because before we get into that and my reading and that, I'd like to call up a good old friend. They've sung together, they lived part of their lives together, from Walter Perotti. He's going to come and sing for us. Thank you, Walter. If you please bear with Walter. Walter was hijacked not so long ago. They're still sitting with broken ribs and other issues, so please bear with Walter. But Walter's going to come and lead us in song. Thank you very much, Walter.
That's why I battled to walk a little bit and to breathe from the little bit of hassle that I had with a couple of guys that broke into my car and tried to steal it just about 10 days ago. And so the gimpiness and that is nie die ouderdom, is net die dom. I don't really feel it that way, but just remembering, if you mentioned about eulogies, if anybody, and I thought, well, I'm coming up so I can say something about Clarry, if that's okay. We go back quite a while. We were married in 63, he was married in 65, is that right? So we about the same down there, and we moved to Brakpan. Clarry was one of the older young people in the youth group, and immediately Mr. Sorensen grabbed me. I was a very young deacon in the Springs Church when we moved to Brakpan, and so I became a deacon at Brakpan and also in charge of the youth group, and I had the privilege of working with Clarry and others at that time, Brother Alan, and going back even before that, we met Mom and Francis, and my wife to this very day attributes all her poetic and speech knowledge to old Mrs. Francis Evans. She was a stickler for diction. I'm not going into big words like that, but it had to be just like that. And so we go from there to the next generation, and then all these other generations. And I remember these grey-headed kids. Arthur was telling me just now, he says, looks around and he says, all these old guys, they're all going grey. Well, him and I have got something in common, we're going bald. Not just grey. So, but going back to Clarry, he wasn't a gardener, he was a horticulturalist. It's a groot man daar, he's an ambitious marmalade. And one of the things that he was in the parks department, obviously, of the council, and just before he retired, they were down right at the bottom end of where Blackburn North is now. The sewage works were down there, and his department was close by there. And I just remember one thing over there. I just been to see him, and I was by trade a typewriter mechanic. And now the only thing that's getik is me, because there's no more typewriters. So I had to change my trade a little bit. But I used to do the Blackburn Town Council's machines. They used to have little facet calculators, little crank things that spinning a bell. And they had old typewriters like Murder, She Wrote, you know. And they had all that, and I used to service them. And the Parks Department had a machine, and I used to often see him over there. But the particular day, just prior to his retirement, there was a gentleman from town that had been violently ill. And shouldn't be saying this in a congregation with folk, but he was violently ill, and he just brought everything up in the toilet. And then he realized his teeth were gone. The top teeth disappeared. And believe it or not, in those days they were pretty up to date. And he went down to the sewage department there, and you won't believe it. There was a beautiful case with glass in front, shells inside. There were rings. There were all sorts of things that people had dropped down somehow or other. And this guy went along there, and there were his teeth up on one of those shelves. Oh, buy a donkey, grab his teeth, put them in the book. But anyway, that was one of the memories. Clarry lost contact with him from Mr. Sorensen's days. I was transferred to Witbank, started my own business down there, and lost contact with him from the 60s to 75, 76, came back to Springs from Witbank. And then I met him again when we started a work. One of the Sunday school superintendents in Springs, he took over from me. I left here on the Thursday, and the pastor said, "Now, you've been here a couple of years, and there's no more superintendent here, Sunday school superintendent." And we left on the Thursday. On the Saturday, this family moved into Blackburn, and on Sunday he was there, and he went to Sunday school. The following week he was Sunday school superintendent. And he had a farm out at Groeningstad near the Grootblad power station. And that's where I met Clarry again. Came out with the Witbank young people, Springs and Blackburn. We went out to a camp at this farm that this man had, who was a Sunday school superintendent. The farm couldn't pay much. He couldn't make a living out of the farm because he had two mountains on his farm, and he had cattle and sort of milk. So when the power station opened, he went and worked down there. Then he went there down full time. Prior to that, he used to travel just certain times, Saturdays down to there to see to the farm and so on. But I met Clarry there again at this camp, and we kept up the friendship. Then after that, his mom got old, and went into an old age home in Springs. And there we met the family. I remember the kids sitting on Graham's bed, and Clarry and I used to sing, and this went on and off, we met. And then just recently, about 18 months ago, my car broke down, and I just happened to phone Clarry to find out how he was. And he said, well, when you go down to Kroonklei again, and this was on the Thursday or the Friday, and that Sunday I was supposed to go down, and I didn't have a car. I said, well, I'm supposed to go down. He said, well, don't cancel. I'll come and fetch you, and we'll go down together, and we'll sing. Great, we sang. We sang at the old age home many times. And it was wonderful. Just that trip going down there. And I remember we were chatting about what we were going to sing, and he said, well, we'll sing Rock of Ages. And here were the two crocs of the ages going to sing the Rock of Ages, about the Rock of Ages. And we joke about things like that. But him and singing, you just couldn't separate. And I would so love him to be here to sing the second part as I'm singing, and I'm sure that we would enjoy being here and singing this time. But he's now in a heavenly choir, and he must be singing all the time in that great choir. So I'd like to sing two songs. Now my mouth is dry, I don't have any water, but I'll do my best. And I'd like to sing a song which I'm going to attribute to him. And then a song for those who are left behind. And right before I sing this, just our condolences from the Eastbound Church. They knew him. The Kroonklei Church, he knew the people there. And I just bring condolences